What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Summertime Rendering. This is episode 3, and with me, as always, I have Loosebed.
So, yeah, definitely that the end of that episode left me with some. Well, actually, just one, maybe a couple questions, maybe. But it's like Shin is definitely trying to make certain decisions, just change like certain outcomes. Well, actually, some of the decisions he made at the end of the last episode did have some effect in this episode. So one example is because he ended up saving the cop from being killed by the Shadow Mio, he's able to give Shin like a cell phone that that Ushio entrusted to him, so he can give it to Shin once he gets back. Probably because like she knew what was going to happen to her of sorts. And then also, like, he was able to properly investigate what happened. I think what was that little girl's name? Oh, was it Shiori?
I think so.
Yeah. So he arrives at at Shiori's house, and he decides to properly investigate that place. And he's also with another woman looking for the family as well. By the time he gets in, he notices that they're all missing. There's food on the table that's like just pretty much left untouched. But he notices that there are two like I wouldn't say like ash clouds or whatever those things are, like some sort of like this black whatever.
Yeah, there are basically these marks that I guess might have represented where people were when they were supposedly killed or whatever might have happened to them.
Yeah, they're likely dead because that's what the shadows ended up doing to the bodies that they kill and copy. So Shinpei tries to go upstairs to check if there's anyone else up there, and then what he finds is he finds out that the Shiori who was at the funeral was actually the Shadow Shiori in the first place.
And he speculates that he might have the shadows might have been after him, basically, like from the beginning or something. What's interesting is I don't know if that like what looked like, I guess, a camera flash has any significance, like when he first got to the funeral, and like it looked like there was like some kind of camera flash, and I think it happens again when the shadow of the girl shows up. So I'm kind of wondering if that has something to do with what the shadows might have done to him, or for like it has something to do with, I guess, why they're targeting him specific, or why they're targeting him and maybe like supposedly, I guess, other people on the island for whatever reason.
Yeah. And it looks like I thought he was going to die in this scene, but thankfully he's saved at the last minute thanks to the woman that was with him, looking for the entire family. So the next thing he looks for is, of course, the woman in glasses, but he can't find any trace of that woman because it doesn't look like she's staying in any sort of hotel or inn on that island. So he pretty much gives up on that front. And so he goes back to Mio to talk about what their next moves are, and her suggestion is to go back to that shrine, which both Shin and her were originally killed in the first loop. So he decides against that. What's also different, that I think it was one of Shin's friends, I think the guy with the orange hair, wants to go with them over at the shrine, but Shin suggests that they all wait like the following day when the festival is going on. Now,
they actually let him in on what's going on too, because he was kind of out of the loop before. But they decided to tell him about the shadows and all that.
Yeah, but the one thing that Shin hasn't really told anyone is his looping ability. So I'm just curious on like whether or not if he's willing to tell anyone about this.
I mean, if people are willing to believe in shadow copies of people, then I feel like they'd probably be willing to believe that he can that he's been looping.
Yeah, but what I'm also curious is, because they're willing to wait to the next day, what's what's going to happen to the woman in glasses? Because we know.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. As we know that she gets killed at the shrine, so I'm assuming, if things, I mean, aside from the things that Shin has changed, like, I wouldn't imagine that would change what happens to her. I would imagine she still gets killed by the Shadow Mio. So she probably died in the in this loop that we're on right now. Most likely.
Yeah.
But what's different, of course, is that they waited. We get to see what happens on the next day, which I didn't know that there's going to be a festival in this too. It kind of even more so gives me Higurashi vibes with that.
Yeah. So they do eventually attend the festival, and of course, Shin and I think I forgot that other guy's name, but they apparently just have this conversation, talking about what they think about like Ushio and Mio, and what.
Oh, there's also this character that shows up. I don't know if we've seen her yet, or if we've seen her before.
Like this is the first time we've seen her.
One of Mio's friends.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. Like she.
Yeah.
Of course, like she. Okay, so she's like. She's there for about a few scenes, I guess. Teasing or calling out Shin about like who he really likes or what he sees in Mio or Ushio, whether he sees him as like a sibling or someone he really likes. But of course, Shin doesn't really give a full answer to that question. And then by the end,
I mean, he pretty much says like, yeah, she's family to me, which is kind of funny because it reminded me of the Mikasa scene from Attack on Titan.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you were saying, that there's something pretty different that happens here aside from them, like, Shin kind of surviving to the next day. He also sees what appears to be Ushio, and he ends up chasing after her, which is kind of where we end off on the episode because he does eventually catch up to her. I'm not exactly sure what's going on because I want to say this probably is her shadow, because I mean we do if you remember, Mio did mention before that she remembers seeing like somebody that looked like Ushio before she died. So that's what I would assume this person is it's not, of course it's not really her, it's probably her shadow or whatever.
I could assume that the real Ushio is alive, and maybe the Ushio that died was actually her shadow, but I can't really say for sure like how shadows would die.
It could be, yeah. I didn't think about that. That would be an interesting twist.
Yeah, because I noticed, like, why would she entrust her cell phone to the police officer so he can give it to Shin? And it also, like, there's Mio also gives Shin what was it, that shell necklace that he got like back in the first episode. Of course, he doesn't really give much of a reaction since he already received it before. But it leads me to believe that it's possible that the real Ushio is alive. But that's just my guess, unless it completely refutes that theory by next week. But it's just like my guess regarding Ushio's fate.
Yeah, the episode does end off on a pretty interesting cliffhanger in that regard, because now we're kind of wondering if this is the real Ushio or if this is just her shadow. But I mean, I think that is an interesting theory, that it could potentially be the real her. So yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I really like the direction, I guess, this episode ends up going, because I wasn't really sure what was going to what exactly was going to happen at this point. So it definitely seems like Shin's at least trying to change some things. I think, like I mentioned, I think it's pretty likely that the woman in the glasses is dead, and I think she seems to be pretty important. So I think this is probably going to be another dead end, but it'll probably just end differently. I think the woman in glasses is going to be like one of the important people that Shin would have to keep alive. So I think if it does, when he does loop again, he'll probably have to make an effort, like to try to get her to I guess join up with him to try to investigate what's happening or something. Because for this time he wasn't able to find her, so I think it'd probably be the next time he starts to loop again, he'll probably try to get her help before she goes missing to where he can't really find where she is.
I mean, he could have gone to the shrine by himself anyway to find this woman, but he instead
he would have died again. That would have just been another dead end, I think. I think he would have to have found her earlier than the point where she dies, which seems like is that particular day.
Yeah. Well, this episode was, I guess, it was an interesting episode. But of course, it leaves us off with a couple questions in regards to Ushio's fate. But I'm pretty sure that Shin is going to be forced to restart this loop, depending on what's going to happen to him in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we know Mio's shadow is still out there. It's just that this time it's more unpredictable, like what she's going to do. In the previous loops, we knew what she was going to do, but this time we're kind of, we're in uncharted territory because we haven't gone past the point that he was at in the last few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're not really sure what exactly she might do. Not to mention, we're not really sure if this, like we mentioned before, if this is the real Ushio or if this is her shadow. And if it is her shadow, then that makes things even worse. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. I'm definitely really liking this series so far. It feels very familiar in terms of the whole like idea of looping and this there's this mystery and it has horror elements to it. Like we've kind of seen this before, but I mean it does do some things that are a little bit different to make it stand out. Like the idea of shadows and people being kind of killed and they're being copied, I guess.
Yeah.
I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing, because Shin wouldn't really know who on the island is already a shadow and who's a real person.
Yeah, it kind of brings in this element of paranoia, which, it's kind of like that in Higurashi, but for Higurashi, it's more so because of the Hinamizawa syndrome and various other things that contribute to the paranoia. But in this, it's because of, I guess, these shadows. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to say about the episode. I thought it was probably one of the better ones so far. It definitely has me really excited to actually watch the next episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
I'm definitely liking it as well. It definitely leaves us guessing of what's going to end up happening next, because I wasn't expecting Ushio to just literally show up by the end of this episode, and it leaves me to
considering
wonder,
how important she's supposed to be. Like, I wasn't really expecting that. I thought it was just going to end up being like some kind of a hallucination or whatever. But now that she's actually, I guess, here, I'm kind of like, it just kind of leaves the question of like, is this the real Ushio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we pretty much know for a fact that it's very likely that Shin is going to have to restart this loop if things go sideways for him again. But he is going to have to make several decisions to change over and over, including saving certain people that he's already saved again. But he also needs to find this woman in glasses again.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about her as well.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know too much about her other than she has that diary, and she might have some idea of what's happening, but and we don't really know why she's there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that all being said, guys, until next Friday, we will see you all next time.